Hey guys, same setup as yesterday with the exception of the Stirling soap for today. This is the Barbershop. This is a smaller tub, the 4-ounce tub. This is great for those refills if you buy the Stirling refill pucks. Normally their tubs are larger, about 5.8 ounces. All right, Maseto brush, same as yesterday. It's a Silvertip. I've had it soaking for a little bit, just like yesterday. The Gillette Silver Blue, it'll be on its third shave today. And this is the Tech, Vintage Gillette Tech. And this one was made in the UK, so it's a little different than the American version. This time, I will show you the base plate. I don't know if the focus down here, it says made in England. So, slightly different base plate design. This one has the etched Gillette logo there that's partially worn away, but still fairly easy to see. So today's little adventure is kind of a paired with yesterday's shave. I used Fine Accoutrement soap, American Blend, which is a barbershop scent from them, and wonderful lather. And I tried to just make mental notes as far as how it felt, because someone online, Gabe, asked me in a comment a couple weeks ago, which soap base do you prefer, Stirling or Fine? I like them both a lot. They're great budget, high value, low cost soaps, and they in some performance aspects they may not quite come up to things like Barrister and Man or the new formula of Noble Otter or Declaration Grooming, but they're only just a little bit below it, 5-10% at the most. Is the difference between, and the price is a vast difference. And so for your money, best bang for the buck, Fine or Stirling or one of these type of soaps is a really good option. And it just so happened that I had this one out. I've got 28 Stirling soaps. I counted them today in my list. I've got more Stirling soaps than most people have soaps at all. But this is the size they give out in special occasions. This one was a special effort that Stirling did that didn't pan out maybe the way they wanted, and so then they just sold off the stock that they had. But normally I get this 4-ounce size in the Christmas Black Friday type season where they bring out those seasonals. I've also bought a bunch of them used, and I just like Stirling so much. They're one of the few that I'll buy new. This is a dark colored puck. I have used it on my channel before. I did buy it used. Oh, it's a great smell. Almost like a tobacco vanilla kind of smell. This is a barbershop, obviously, in the barbershop genre, but they're definitely bringing in more of the amber, leather, vanilla type scent than most barbershops have. And that's not a problem, because the barbershop genre is really tough to nail down. And so there's just freedom for the makers to kind of do whatever they want. Got water on my face to let the hairs soften up. So let's start loading the brush. 24 millimeter Silvertip Badger from Maseto. If you like to check them out, they're on eBay. This is the Memphis handle. So if you look up Silvertip, Maseto, Memphis, then it should take you to this brush. And they have another color. This is the solid black. They have a one that is modeled like a horn or scales or something like that. It's got kind of a more natural look to it. I just didn't think it looked quite as quite what I wanted. All right, so let's do a 30-second load. We're starting at 5 and we'll go to 35. Man, yesterday I used my fine American blend, like I said, and it had just been too long since I used it, and so I had forgotten that a little goes a long way, and I loaded, 4 times as much soap as I needed. It was crazy. I had so much soap, and there we go. 30 seconds of loading should be fine for Stirling. Rinse off the tub, the sides of it at least. That's what I do. I don't want any of that soap build up on the threads, make it hard to open and close the tub. And we can go ahead, Roger Quintero lather bowl. Like it a lot, been using it for a while now. So this is a performance test with the lather. Not really shave performance, but just, do I like this lather better than the other? This soap base, does it give me a better lather than the fine accoutrements? So we'll just mix it up as good as we can and see if I feel like I have done the lather a good service and mixed it up properly. Then I'll go ahead and call it and see if I can tell the difference. And just going to go ahead and put the whole 2 teaspoons in. Pretty sure that Stirling's going to take it. So then I'll be able to say, do I like one more than the other? If so, by how much? They're just both wonderful. Stirling has no problem if you want to add a bunch of water in the beginning like I just did. The lather's coming together really well. That's a good scent. Definitely darker, kind of sweeter. Some of the other barbershops will focus on a little bit of a floral note, but kind of manly floral, not really, lady floral. Lavender maybe. I think vanilla is, to some degree, is often an ingredient in your typical barbershop. Hint of it at least. Often there's a clean, soapy type smell. I chose this brush for this test because the tips are natural, they're not bleached or anything. And so they're hopefully going to help me to be able to feel the lather on my face a little better. Sometimes if those tips have been treated and they're just super uber soft, then the brush hides certain aspects of the feel of the lather. Sometimes that's good, sometimes that's not all that good. Having a great shave with this tech. The UK tech and the Canadian tech, man, wow, they are terrific shavers. They are smoother than the American tech. American tech's still good, don't get me wrong. But these guys are smoother, seem to be plated a little better. Tell you what, I'm grateful for all you viewers out there. I've got some subscribers and people who check out my videos, and I've learned a whole lot. There's some guys out there. Akim comes to mind. He's over in Singapore, and he has shared with me some of his wisdom. I'm confident my memory, I believe it serves me correctly when I say he's been shaving a lot longer than I have like this, and so his knowledge has been great. And there's a couple other guys out there who have really helped me out with some good knowledge. Thank you very much. All right, this lather looks terrific. It's just got 2.5 teaspoons in it. But there we go, look at that. Just a big old blob on your brush. You can look at some of its properties here. Look at that long stretch. Now that's interesting. We did get a long stretch, these peaks, but they are pretty structural. They are holding their weight up. Now if I turn it to the side, sure, it starts to move down. You know, those are some things to look for as you find your own preference with where you like your lather to be. Let's feel this. This has a lighter viscosity than the fine, but the slickness it's a little slicker, and I like the type of slickness that it is. It's more of a buttery slickness than the fine is. Now I like the fine a lot. I think I'm gonna add a little bit more water to this. It's interesting. I kind of like the viscosity feel of the fine, but maybe the slickness feel of the Stirling. The viscosity feel, the creaminess of it, maybe another way of putting it. Is critical in my own thinking of contributing to a luxurious feel in the face, in the hands. So that's why I mentioned it a lot. A little bit of a powdery note sometimes is in the barbershops, because after a good shave, they dust you with powder, send you on your way. So I think that's become part of that. Yeah, let's go with that. That's very interesting. Wonderful soap base. All right. Nice and slick. Cold water. And we'll see after we throw this up on the face. On my face, we can see if I have mixed it right. Oh, let's show you the viscosity here a little bit. I want to pull about half of it up out of the bowl. Oh, look at that. It just collapses. Possible I wetted it down a little bit too much. Maybe it's perfect. We can pull the whole big blob out and then give it a little bit of a wiggle and watch it drop. Ah, see, that one didn't hold its shape like the other one I showed you. Definitely added enough water to make a visible difference. All right, let's see. Now sometimes if it looks very wet and you're thinking, oh no, did I put too much water in there? A couple things you can do. Sometimes just mix a little bit more, because sometimes there are wet spots and not as wet spots, and if you combine those, then all of a sudden it equals out into something that makes you happy. You can also just go to the soap puck after you put some of this wet stuff on your face. Get rid of it off your brush by raking it across the edge of your bowl to leave it in the bowl, and then just do 4 swirls or 5, a small number like that, with the brush. And so then you're of course adding more soap. Now at first, this is kind of seeming a little too dry. Oh man, that's a good scent. The handle's getting a little slippery, so I'll just rinse off just the handle part. During the scrubbing part, sometimes on your face it looks a little too translucent. And you can think, oh no, I'm not doing it right. Well, switch to painting, and all of a sudden, sometimes it just makes all the difference in the world. Because it takes that lather that's around the outside of your brush and lays it down on your face for you. Just going in to get a little bit more lather. Feels terrific. This is very interesting. I think I like the face and the finger feel. In terms of slickness, I like it better on the Stirling. But the viscosity, the creaminess, I like it better on the fine. And see that, you might think that first kind of application of lather, it was thin. You know, I was circle going at it, and so you could see through it and stuff, and it almost felt like it was too dry, or even, you know, too wet, because it was just thin, and so it was hard to really tell what it was. Well, I went back, got a little bit more after I kind of laid a base down on my face. Also, I do not usually wash my face before a shave, so that first application is dealing with all those oils on my face, and so that's part of the reason there's a little bit of a difference. But yesterday I did not shower before my shave, just like today, so that part is consistent. This is great. All right, so let's see how this little guy. Kind of a thin consistency, but you can see on my face it's almost too thick in some respects, and that's not a problem to have the face feel one way while, you know, in your hand, between your fingers, it feels another way. As always, keeping a light touch. And not worrying about trying to get all the length of the hair cut at once. If you feel it's a tuggy pass, I've had really good experiences with just get through the pass. Don't shave in the same area more than once, because that just increases your feel of tugginess. Even if you feel like you're only cutting 40% of the length of the stubble, where normally with a comfortable pass you're cutting 80 or 90% on the first pass. Don't worry about it. Just get it mowed down to a reasonable amount. And I often find that when I come back on the second and third passes, it's just a whole different ball game. Feels great. All right, a little quick rinse. I feel like this lather has a little bit more air in it than the one yesterday. Sometimes if you feel that way, you can just kind of mix at it for a while. It'll work out a few of those air bubbles and change the consistency to be a little thicker while keeping the same amount of hydration. So we'll just mix it up just a little bit more. Face feel is terrific. This is just a 24mm brush, but you can see how it has terrific bloom and coverage all over my face here. This brush sure likes the Stirling better, more comfort with this soap. And just laid, I did not even have to do that scrubbing motion on the second pass because we've taken care of all the cleaning duties on the first one. But I did want to feel the lather and kind of do a little bit more detecting, testing. And this is very comfortable. Gillette Silver Blue works really well in almost every razor I have. This is a trouble spot in my neck, and I'm mainly going with the grain, even on the second pass. In most of the other parts of my neck, I go cross grain pretty much all across the 3 passes. All right, let's rinse. All right, nice rinse. Now that my face has been cleaned by the first pass, the rinse on the second pass is often very different. The first one, I pretty much used up all the lather. There wasn't really much to be slick after that first pass, but it was there after the second. Man, this brush feels terrific with this lather. It's easy to splay, but it's not floppy. I do think this lather has a little bit more air in it than the fine lather, so sometimes that can happen when you add water quickly, and I did dump two teaspoons right away. So I may reevaluate this Stirling lather, try again with it. I want to give it a fair comparison. And now this pass is going to be super smooth since we've taken off so much of the hair already. And then there's the cross grain in my trouble spot coming from the other direction. I'll do that on the third pass many times. And I'll just keep going cross grain on the cheeks because they always get shaved nicely. All right, full rinse now. Oh, of course, the fine lather yesterday, the fine accoutrements lather from American Blend yesterday. Of course, it's creamier. I loaded way too much soap in the brush, and so I was battling to try to thin that out for quite a while of the shave. And so, yeah, it's definitely going to be perceived more creamy than today's. Today's was much more under control. We've just done 3 passes, and I still have a good bit of lather. I bet that's 2 passes of lather. Probably get away with 3 if I wanted to. Let's see how it feels in the hand. And we'll do another shave with a fine soap tomorrow, and then be able to compare it with this Stirling soap today. Just creamy, very well hydrated, both Stirling and fine. can take a lot of water. Definitely some micro bubbles visible, but unlike some of the vegan soaps I've used recently, it's not causing it to be problematically airy. The slickness is there in large amounts. And when you get a good hydration with your lathers, you will have an easier time cleaning your equipment. Just a rinse and a quick wipe with a hand towel or something like that. And I've got hard water and that you get no soap buildup or anything like that when you've got a properly hydrated, a well hydrated lather. So yeah, I might work on mixing this guy a little richer next time, knowing that I can always add a little bit of water during the shave. I could also get rid of some of those bubbles there if I probably worked at it longer in the bowl, but I didn't feel like putting you guys through that. Tremendous lather. It could get better. It could be a little bit creamy. So this is on the wet side, for me, of perfect. Right in that perfect zone, but kind of hanging out over near the wet area. And this would be a good wetness for straight razor shavers who need that hydration. Very nice. Very nice. All right, I'm gonna clean up my gear. Let's see what post shave we're gonna use. You know, yesterday I used the blue type Aqua Velva scent from Arco Cool Aftershave Splash. I didn't like the transition from the clean, mellow notes of the American Blend with the sharper blue notes that are in that aftershave, and so I might not pair that one anymore with that soap. They didn't clash in the sense of the American Blend wasn't fighting with it. It was just my memory of the story. I really enjoyed smelling that American Blend more than the Arco Cool. And it's kind of in a different category ballpark, if you will. This is Proraso. This is about the only Proraso that you'll see me use. The soap is just kind of mediocre. It's an okay soap, but if you pay $10 for it or something like that, which is typical, then I think that's too much. You can get it at places like Marshall's and TJ Maxx sometimes for $5. And you're starting to get more toward the value, but it's just not as good of a performer as definitely as the Stirling and the Fine, much less Barrister and Mann and Noble Otter and Declaration Grooming and those guys. And Proraso always surprised me with the big following that it has online in some areas of the internet. People just think it's the best. And it's far from it, at least in terms of performance. And I think at first I thought it was better, but once you play around in all the other soaps, once you really fine-tune your lather skills and you know what you can do with the soaps that are out there, all of a sudden the deficiencies in the Proraso start to stand out. And if you like it, I like the scent on the red soap. If you like it, go for it. But I want to make sure that, newbies out there have a good knowledge and at least are exposed to the idea that the Proraso fanboys might be a little on the biased side and not have all that much experience with other soaps. Or perhaps they are bad at making lathers, and so Proraso is more forgiving. Who knows? Just trying to distribute good information. Great brush. Really happy with that guy. It's just a smooth, kind of a sweet barbershop scent right there. Seems like there's a little bit of tobacco and a little bit of vanilla, maybe amber. Not quite sure exactly on the scent notes of that one. That's just kind of what it seems to resemble. This does have shea oil, and in addition to the sandalwood oil, and then of course the alcohol. I did get just a little bit of sting with the Proraso red. It's the sandalwood scent. Officially, it's called the that one of them says like hydrating and conditioning, and the other one says cooling and moisturizing. They don't actually call it Proraso red. It's just the color red. They don't actually call it sandalwood except for the ingredients list on the back. Face feels great. Wife doesn't like this scent, so I'll put it on at night so she doesn't have to smell it. Sandalwood, she said, she said it reminded her of a funeral home. So today's water was 3.5 teaspoons for 30 seconds of loading. So I might want to back that off next time I do. If I do the fine and then come back to a Stirling, back off the water just a little bit. Try to reach for the creamy texture of the lather. Well, the things are all put away. It's been a good shave. Face feels great, no irritation at all. Good one. And nice closeness too, so the GSB is continuing to work well with that tech head. Kept a light touch as always. Let the razor glide lightly over my skin. Try to maintain the proper angle. And it worked great. Loving the scent of the sandalwood now. And yeah, so it was very interesting. The Maseto brush seemed to feel better with the Stirling, even though the Stirling wasn't really in as creamy of a state as yesterday's fine lather was. So that's curious. So I'll use a fine soap again tomorrow, and remember not to quite load as much as I did yesterday. Maybe a better comparison. Maybe it'll be the Santal Absolute, the sandalwood scent that they have, that is one of my favorites. That's fine. And then maybe we'll bounce back to Stirling. We'll just keep bouncing back until we have a winner, or at least a well-informed tie. So, or a well-informed decision either way, right? All right, well, hey, I hope there was something here in this video that has helped you out. You take care. This is Sugar Daddy Shaves. Good night.